Okay.
Are you looking for better shooting experience? How about a facility where you can shoot all of your firearms in the same day, where you can move and shoot steel, draw from the holster, and practice your rifle work out to 600 yards? Shoot a very challenging sporting clays course or a round of trap or skeet. You can do all that and much more at the Aurora Sportsman's Club. Hi, I'm David Lombardo, president of the Aurora Sportsman's Club. If you love the outdoors, you'll want to know all about Northern Illinois' largest outdoor shooting facility, the Aurora Sportsman's Club. If you're a novice looking for a basic course, an experienced shooter looking for an advanced course, or perhaps you want to participate in your favorite shooting event, or just spend an enjoyable day with a family, the Aurora Sportsman's Club is the only shooting facility in the region that offers all that and more. Interested? Then you won't want to miss the next orientation and tour of the Aurora Sportsman's Club. Call, email, or visit our website today to find out how you can become part of a better shooting experience at the Aurora Sportsman's Club in Waterman, Illinois.
He is the human Molotov cocktail that they can legally throw into the system that stole their lives from them.
So we're going to create a new government that serves you, your family, and your country.
It's time for On Target Radio, Chicagoland's only radio show dedicated to the red meat issues that affect your life, from gun control to freedom of speech. Now, debating, debunking, and discussing today's hot issues, here are your hosts, David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz.
Welcome to On Target Radio. Tonight, David's rant of the week is argumentative, intolerant, irrelevant, and other reasons we love Donald Trump, with David and Gretchen discussing how Trump's base ignores what the press says about him. Then, a look at Border Patrol's perspective of Trump's border policy, with SCOTUS weighing in with good news. And finally, when the government gives a $90,000 grant so people can talk to a cactus, we know there's a lot more swamp left to drain. All that and more on tonight's On Target Radio. So give us a call at 815-205-1584. That's 815-205-1584. Or go to Facebook, like our page On Target Radio, and ask a question or make a comment there.
And now, from the seething cauldron of personal opinion, it's time for David's Rant of the Week.
Economic analyst and conservative journalist Larry Kudlow gives Trump a B grade for his first 6 months in office and says he's optimistic about what the administration can accomplish before year's end. Kudlow wrote in a recent newsletter, quote, "To my way of thinking, he ended the war against business, he's ended the war against success, he has ended the war against fossil fuels, and he's looking out for America," unquote. Okay, I get that Trump comes to us with warts and all, but he did beat out a wide selection of conservatives in the primary. For any number of reasons, Trump resonated with American conservatives, despite the reality that the Don, well, isn't really a dyed-in-the-wool conservative, and that resonance continues in the form of his approval rating. Despite the unprecedented hatred and unbelievable violence perpetrated by the left, despite the constant drumbeat of absolutely baseless calls for impeachment by the Democrats in Congress, despite the outrageous lies constantly presented as news by the mainstream media, Donald Trump's approval rating with the public remains steadfast at about 40%. In fact, the latest Rasmussen poll suggesting that the number has recently moved up to 43%. Mainstream media isn't quite so kind, with ABC News Washington Post putting Trump's rating at 39%, Gallup at 38%, Reuters at 40%, and The Economist at 41%. These are hardly a surprise, given the mainstream media is dedicated to ending the Trump presidency and is doing everything legal and illegal, if one can call writing fake news designed to unseat a sitting president illegal. The bottom line is Trump's approval rating has hardly changed from before the election. He appears to be impervious to all the lying and skullduggery that is going on around him, and while 43% isn't exactly stellar, it is worth noting that Congress approval rating is about half of Trump's. I'm part of a small group of conservatives who discuss politics and various other subjects daily via email. I refer to them as the cognoscenti. Recently, one of the cognoscenti asked why some of us were such big Trump fans. He said he'd voted for Trump because anyone representing the Republican Party would be better than Hillary Clinton. But he said his vote was less about Trump and more about not Hillary. A multi-day heated discussion ensued with comments about how Trump is argumentative, intolerant, and irreverent. So, for those of you who don't get why Trump, here's why I'm pretty happy with his argumentative, intolerant, and irreverent ways. After 8 years of Obama, an awful lot of us just want to hear someone who has a set. No bowing to potentates, pro-military, pro-law enforcement, concerned about how VA treats vets, pro-Second Amendment, cancel an Obama executive order a day philosophy, focus on Muslim terrorists as terrorists and not some socially misunderstood group that just needs jobs, and most of all, we hate the press, and so does he. It gives us warm, fuzzy feelings the way he has marginalized the mainstream media, and marginalized them he most definitely has. If Trump hadn't come along, their fake news would go unchallenged. When T-Rex denied those clowns a trip on his airplane, you could hear cheers across the country. When the press complained they had to travel first class on the airlines, something the average American will never get to experience, it warmed our hearts to reaffirm they're spoiled, self-important pseudo-intellectuals who think they're better than the rest of us. I don't want to see CNN, MSNBC, and all the rest simply fail. I want them to fail and individually be publicly humiliated so badly they never show their faces again. If only they could be prosecuted and jailed. Trump has his faults, but his resonating with more than simply the 10% of the red meat eaters. One heck of a lot of conservatives I talk with love the guy. They don't think he's without fault. They'll even admit that he can be tacky. But they're getting a breath of fresh air they've craved after years of being locked in a closet and force-fed liberal crap. Elections have consequences, Obama boasted. Well, bucko, you are right. People are fed up with their daughters sharing showers with boys who are in touch with their feminine side, and hotel rooms with their transgendered teacher on field trips. They're fed up with have strong religious beliefs and being forced to choose between compromising those beliefs or being prosecuted. They're tired of global warming, misunderstood undocumented workers killing their kids while getting free government benefits not available to actual citizens. They're tired of 5-year-olds being suspended because their Pop-Tart looked like a gun. They're tired of the constant anti-white, anti-middle-class rhetoric, and more than anything else, they're tired of the persecution of anyone that through personal initiative and hard work became successful. This administration speaks out against everything we've come to hate about big government created by Barack Obama and ultra-liberal Democrats in Congress. You want to know what I think the single biggest problem with the Trump administration is right now? They can't get enough ink to keep his pen flowing as he signs executive orders and laws dismantling everything we've come to hate about big government. And I don't give a rat's ass if he's argumentative, intolerant, and irreverent. Send more ink. And that, Gretchen, is my rant for the week.
Bravo, bravo.
And Gretchen is like gone, disembodied. Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, it's pretty glamorous up in here.
Well, I bet it is, yeah. Give us a call, 815-205-1584. 815-205-1584. If you want to weigh in on what do you think about Trump? What do people actually think? Our vast listening audience. What do you think about President Trump? Warts and all. Has he got problems? He does. But it's the very fact that he's got those problems, Gretchen, is why a lot of us like him. Because he's not what we're used to.
I have heard a lot of people say that. A lot of people, they're like, yeah, I wish he would tone down the tweeting and, he can be a little crass, but he got elected doing that. So, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. A lot of people say he shouldn't stop doing that because it got him elected.
Exactly.
There's something to be said for that.
Interestingly enough, a Bloomberg national poll said 89% of the respondents who said they voted for Trump to begin with say he's doing a fine job as commander-in-chief.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Sounds about right.
People
I was just commenting to somebody the other day that on NBC, on the Today Show, they have sent out a reporter, and they call the segment "In Trump They Trust," and they go out and they find enclaves of Trump voters, and they, ask them questions. And it's so funny. It's like these liberals are desperately trying to figure out what is going on. It's so funny to watch. It's like a child watching an animal in a zoo. Like, I'm trying to understand this.
And I think what makes this really interesting is that the Democrats still don't understand why they lost the election.
No, they don't. They absolutely don't get it.
Which means, more than likely, they're going to lose the next one.
Oh, one can hope.
That's true. We can always be in there and pitching for it, yeah. It's just voters, the people who don't like him more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair.
He's doing exactly the things that they were afraid that he would do. They had no problem with Barack Obama doing it to us. But now when it's all unfolding, they're not very happy. And those poll numbers among the people who didn't like him to begin with, they dislike him a lot more now than they did before. But what it really says is, you look at this constant pounding by the press, everything, the televised press, radio, it's just the liberal press constantly, and it has had no effect on his supporters, just like none.
Basically. Yes, the first article you gave me, it says a significant portion of the electorate has tuned out the press entirely.
Exactly. I seriously wonder, with all of this stuff, all the fake news that they do and everything, I wonder if they'll ever come. CNN, I wonder seriously if CNN will fold.
Yeah, I don't know. How are their advertising revenues coming?
I don't know, but here's the thing about advertising revenues: if they have no viewers, even the most ardent advertisers are going to end up pulling the plug. We got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about this. One person suggested that that Trump is kryptonite to smears, which I thought was interesting. So we'll be back with Super Trump after these few messages with more on Target Radio.
Safer USA, Chicago's most trusted name in firearm training, is offering beginners classes, tactical pistol and rifle, long-range rifle to 600 yards, and the most comprehensive Illinois concealed carry program available. The On Target Radio co-hosts David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz will prepare you to carry a firearm for personal protection, including firearm, holster, and ammunition selection. A comprehensive law review designed to keep you out of trouble and even how to deal with home invasions. Firearm, ammunition, holster, class notebook, and lunch are provided. Safer USA and the Aurora Sportsman's Club invite you to participate in this one-of-a-kind Illinois concealed carry program that also qualifies you for Florida, Utah, and Arizona non-resident permits. Find out what over 6,000 students already know at saferusa.com.
Or call 815-741-3474. That's 815-741-3474. Safer USA. Choosing to own a firearm is your business. Teaching you to own it responsibly is ours.
Do you dread writing? Is it challenging to find just the right words to get your point across? Do you put off developing marketing materials because you just don't know where to start? You get one chance to make a first impression, and my editor, Creative Business Services, can help make it a strong, positive one. Hi, this is Gretchen Fritz, co-host of On Target Radio, and I'd like to tell you about My Editor, a business I started to help you overcome those concerns. What you're experiencing is very common. My Editor has helped business owners, candidates for political office, and even authors and public speakers. At My Editor Creative Business Services, we can simply edit your existing work or help you develop an entire writing plan of action from initial project design through final copy. We are easy to work with and will help you get your point across in the most effective manner. If words escape you, send me an email at myeditor@mail.com. Use My Editor Creative Business Services and go to print with confidence. That's My Editor at mail.com or find us on Facebook.
You're listening to On Target Radio with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
You know, the press has been liberal for a very, very long time. I remember a number of years ago, it came out that Walter Cronkite had been a liberal, and you would not have known that to listen to Walter Cronkite at the time. Cronkite, yes. I need an editor. You're not here. What can I say? But it surprised people that he was liberal because he never showed it.
Because he kept a lid on it.
Exactly, but the press of the past, well, certainly since Obama got elected, but even before that, has been
9 years, 10 years.
Yeah, has been very liberal. And Cheryl Atkinson, who's is a journalist, if you read this thing, labels it transactional journalism. There's a famous thing. It's not famous, but what was it? I can't remember what publication. They wanted a copy of a speech that Hillary was going to give, and normally they just give it to you in advance. But Hillary Clinton's whoever was running the communications at the time, this is like 2000, well, I don't remember, said, we will do that on one condition, that you will refer to the speech as muscular, okay, and you will point out that, I think she was at the UN, you will point out that people sitting in front of her are subordinates to her, that she's like overlooking. And they literally, it was the Atlantic, that's what it was. They literally wrote an article with words, those words in the article. And so Cheryl Atkinson calls that transactional journalism, where basically, they tell you what they want. There's an awful
tit for tat.
Yeah,
Quid
there's
pro
an awful
quo.
lot of that in liberalism. They give them talking point. And people have done montages, all the different talk shows, Sunday morning talk shows, using the exact same phrase. You've seen those, haven't you? Where they just show you
I
these
think so,
different things.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just coincidental.
Yeah.
I remember they talked about George W. Bush. He didn't have gravitas. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that one.
Oh, yeah. And so on the Sunday morning talk shows, first of all, 99% of America had never heard the word gravitas before in their life, right? So it's like nobody knew what it was. And so the first talk show, one of the problems about George W. Bush is he just doesn't have gravitas. Well, okay, so that's some smart, guy, right? He's using big words. Every show that morning used that exact same phrase. He lacks gravitas. It's been a stacked deck forever. I don't know. And now they're ticked off because Trump's unstacking the deck.
Yeah, I've been calling him a Teflon Don for a while, and that's what Cheryl Atkinson says. She says every traditional smear tactic used against him just kind of bounced off of him. And it's true. I mean, the mainstream media is beside themselves. They're like, all of our old tricks aren't working. And we're powerless, and they're so frustrated. It's really quite humorous.
Oh, it's heartwarming. Is what it really is. When internet, it wasn't that long ago that if somebody said I have a show on the internet, you'd laugh at it. Didn't matter who it was. Nobody with any importance had shows on the internet.
Gravitas.
That's right, it lacked gravitas. And now it's people on the internet, and there's certainly a lot of nutballs on both sides. There's no question about that. But internet is beginning to replace these time-honored, methods of disseminating news. And that just, it's an amazing thing to watch this actually happening. I don't know how it's going to end, because the one problem with the internet is it's hard to vet things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go. See, you agree. That's a good thing. A sort of remote hookup is a little
I
weird.
thought you were going to keep going.
No, I just,
I see. I missed my opening. You're supposed to. It's hard to vet things, and I'm supposed to say, yeah, like the Boston Times.
That was. We were talking
Sorry,
about
I totally
that.
missed it.
Somebody
I totally
brought that
missed
up.
it.
Somebody brought that up the other day, actually. Boston Times. Yeah.
Someone is going to bring that up every day for the rest of your life.
I've forgotten the second one. The first article below the fold was something like 7 movies in which the actors really did
Movies
it.
where the stars really did it.
Yeah, but what was the second one? Do you remember? There was another equally porn-like article in that thing. It was perhaps not my shining moment, you know? What can I say?
Well, most of the crap websites that I see, it's like the one food you should never ever eat, and get rid of your skin tags miraculously, and all kinds of crazy stuff like that.
Yeah. Interesting thing that Cheryl Atkinson points out is she says, we see news organizations, at least like I've never seen before, come forward and say this man is so dangerous, talking about Trump, so antithetical to their beliefs, that he's dangerous, and they have to suspend the normal rules of journalism and our normal systems and processes. These people are actually saying we can't tell the news as it is. We have to make it up because we have to get rid of them. These are newspapers,
well, really, what they're saying is we know we're supposed to objectively report the news, but we can't do that because you might not understand the gravitas of the situation if we did that, because you're too stupid to figure it out.
And we've known for a long time that particularly East Coast liberals have this, the flyover state, the Bible Belt. Yeah, you're not smart enough to know how to run your own life. I don't know. Newspapers were on the downward trend even before Barack Obama got into office. The beauty of the internet is if you find reliable stuff, you can tailor news to get what you want and do away with all the crap. You don't have to sit and watch a show for an hour to extract 3 minutes of information that you want. You can literally tailor what is sent to you every day, which is a great thing. And the other really great thing about it is you can download it. You can take whatever it is you want and have it download into a laptop or shoot your phone nowadays, and then get on a plane and watch it, at your leisure. So that's a really cool thing, and I think that newspapers are, kind of on the way out. I like newspapers, but you pay a lot of money for stuff that you don't really want,
Right. I think that this just a couple of lines from this article by Onan Koka for Constitution.com is interesting. He suggests perhaps a more fair and balanced approach would give the mainstream networks more credibility, which is what they should have done years ago to not lose their credibility. But, now at this point, I'm not sure that people would even trust them, even if they went straight. I mean, how do they get back the trust that they have squandered at this point? How do they get back?
I think if they actually wanted to do it, and I honestly don't think they get it. I don't think they do. They would want to, but if you're really going to do that, you know what you have to do? You have to just clean house. You literally have to
I was going to say you'd almost have to fire everybody.
Yeah.
And just start over. And you'd have to say, okay, we're firing everybody, and this is why. We want to go back to objective, real journalism.
I honestly don't know that icons, which they are, like the New York Times, I don't know that they could do it any other way and be successful at doing it.
I don't think that they have the will, to be honest with you. I don't think that they have the journalistic integrity at this point to even see the value in doing that.
Well, they definitely don't, because remember, it was the New York Times, I forget who the reporter was, who had worked for him and left. And she said how shocked she was when they literally told her that their daily meeting set the news for the country, that they said, we decide what people are going to talk about. That is really astounding.
Right, and they said, okay, we want you to say, okay, this is what our agenda is going to be, and then all your stories for the next 6 months or a year are going to fit that narrative.
Exactly.
The word narrative is like the gag-worthy buzzword to me lately, in the last year or so. I mean, narrative, you're a reporter. You're not supposed to have a narrative. You're supposed to say, okay, this is what happened. Here's the background information you need to know to understand what happened. And then you decide how you feel about that. There's not supposed to be a narrative.
Right. I've always liked Charlie Rose. Charlie Rose, as an interviewer, Charlie Rose is liberal, but it's very rare that you can tell he's liberal, because he's pretty good about, like Johnny Carson used to be, which on a more humorous level, Charlie Rose is sort of like Carson in that he's good at making the other person look good and giving them, free rein to say whatever they want to say, whether it's liberal, conservative, good or bad or whatever. It's very rare that Charlie Rose's liberalism rears its head, and I've always admired him as a journalist. And then you compare that with somebody like, it's almost hard to say straight-faced, Rachel Maddow, who is that how can they not look at her and go, this just doesn't belong on television, really?
Yeah, I don't know.
That whole, this is your life now, after the election, this is what you get. This is your life now. You're not waking up and, what did she say somewhere? I can't remember, another dimension or something or other. And who was it? Was it CNN that was hypothesizing while the election was taking place, if Trump were assassinated, how we could get
Oh, it was between the election and inauguration. Of under what circumstances could we prevent him from becoming president?
Right. I mean, this is a major news outlet talking about,
it's unconscionable,
assassinating the president to get what they want.
It makes me want to say like a string of negative adjectives: unconscionable, unfathomable.
Yeah. It says really bad stuff about where this country has been, and liberals will tell you, which I find almost funny, not quite. They will tell you that Trump is the one who is causing trouble and inciting and all of that. And when they do that, I go, when was the last time a group of Republicans went out and flipped over a police car and started a fire? Well, no, you don't understand. They're not really part of us. And I go, really? they're liberals. They're Antifa.
They sure seem like they are.
You spawned them. What do you mean they're not part of you?
They're sure saying the same stuff you're saying.
They sure are, and they're carrying it. But the interesting part is when this big war starts. I'm really waiting to see how that's going to work out.
Back to the war.
Yeah. That's going to be interesting. Anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Border Patrol. They're starting the wall this week. So we'll come back and we'll talk about that and a whole lot more when we return with more On Target Radio.
Hi, I'm David Lombardo, co-host of On Target Radio, and I'd like to offer you a partnership opportunity. For over 4 years, On Target Radio covered the red meat issues that affect your life, from gun control to freedom of speech, on AM 560 The Answer. But a 1-minute commercial was $200, making it tough to find enough sponsors. So last November, we left AM 560 and began podcasting. There's a learning curve to podcasting, and we've worked through the kinks and would now like to make you an offer. You can have a 60-second audio or video commercial for as little as $25 a week. We can also offer fellow conservatives their own radio or video podcast for as little as $100 a week, with equipment and technical personnel included. You provide the content and host, plus get 6 free minutes of commercial time you can sell yourself. If you'd like to be an On Target Radio sponsor or explore the possibility of having your own show, call me at 815-741-3474, and let's explore the possibilities together.
You're listening to On Target Radio with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
This segment is brought to you by the Will County Grassroots Division of the Illinois State Rifle Association. Join like-minded friends supporting the right to keep and bear arms in Illinois at 7 p.m. on the third Wednesday of the month at the Silver Dollar Restaurant in Elwood, Illinois.
We've been overwhelmed with email asking why you're in Ohio. Actually, I made that up.
Oh, really?
But you're at a conference, right?
So I'm at a conference, the annual conference of National Association of Counties, which if anyone knows Spanish, particularly Mexican Spanish, the abbreviation for the National Association of Counties is NACO, which is a Mexican slang word meaning like an icky person, somebody that you don't want to be around, kind of like white trash.
There you go. And
so we pronounce it NACO, but the Mexicans pronounce it NACO.
NACO.
So my brother-in-law thought that was really funny.
And you were out chugging beers with Tony Preckwinkle, right?
Well, no, actually, I was drinking tequila. I don't know what she was drinking. I was not buying her drinks. So I am not aware of what her drink is. But, which is also to say, I'm not a lesbian. But yeah, I was in a room at a dinner last night with Tony Preckwinkle.
Well, and you didn't say anything to her, though. You didn't walk up to her and go, "You really suck."
No, I didn't. My dad texted me. I texted my dad, Tony Preckwinkle is here with me, and he goes, "That's a waste of time and taxpayer money," or something.
Well, what can you say?
I kind of went,
"Oops, oops," but it's going well.
But
yeah?
no, it was just kind of surreal to even be in the same room with her. I just never, in my wildest dreams, ever thought that would happen.
Yeah, and you probably weren't actually dreaming about being in a room with her unless it was a nightmare. Well, like I said, it just never would have occurred to me. But there was a dinner that was given by the Illinois County Association, and it was sponsored by Nationwide Insurance, which Nationwide is headquartered here in Columbus. So that's why I happened to be in a room with her. So it was DuPage County, Will County, Cook County, I think Champaign County, and LeClaire, I believe, was there. So Illinois has over 100 counties, and there's not a lot of counties that actually belong to NACO. So that's one of the things that we've been working on, is getting more counties to join, actually. How many people are attending this thing, roughly?
Well, let's see. The general session the other day probably had around 800 people in it, and not everybody was there. So there's probably at least 1,000 people here.
Oh, so it's pretty big.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. Interesting. Speaking of big, this is not a good segue, but it'll work.
That was fantastic.
Speaking of big, the big wall starts this week. Trump is actually building the wall.
Woohoo!
Did you see? It's so funny. We were talking about the press on the last segment about how they do anything to get rid of him. When he met with Nieto from Mexico, they had this meeting, right? And the press is there. And when they were done talking, the press asks him, "So, you still think you're going to get Mexico to pay for the wall? Did you see that?" And he goes, "Yeah."
No, I didn't see that.
with the president of Mexico sitting right next to him, he goes, "Yeah, they're going to pay for it." I was like, the journalist was like, What? They thought they were going to catch him. They really thought they would catch him. I love it. This stuff just rolls off his back. The Border Patrol is giving high praise to Trump. Apparently, the illegal crossings have dramatically dropped. I mean, dramatically dropped. Because all of his rhetoric, and he apparently wrote some memos to Border Patrol. Apparently, Obama wrote memos to them curtailing them from stopping people illegally crossing.
Right.
And Trump has wrote up some memos and go, stop them, book them, Dano, put them back over the border. So they were looking at what did I see? It was like 50-some percent. Was 53? The 53% decrease in the number of apprehensions along the border. It's just dramatically reducing the number of people trying to get across, which.
Yeah, and it sounds like they've come up with some statistics to indicate that even the number of people even attempting to enter illegally is dropping. So not only are they grabbing 53% fewer people, there's a significantly fewer number of people even trying.
Yeah,
which is fantastic.
The chief of the Border Patrol said not only is the president working diligently to create a physical barrier worthy of keeping out the riffraff from south of the border, but his overall stance on immigration has seen an increasing number of deportations and a bolder enforcement of our country's existing immigration laws. All of this has combined to stymie illegal border crossing in massive numbers. And now the head of the Border Patrol Unit is publicly thanking the president for doing it. We had 8 years where these guys are down there getting shot at and not allowed to do anything.
Right.
We lost a couple of guys down there.
The Judd, his name is Judd, Brandon Judd said, there's an energy in the Border Patrol that's never been there before in 20 years that I've been in the patrol. So apparently right down the chain of command, everybody's loving it.
Yep. And of course, liberals, it's racist.
Oh, yeah.
You got to ask where they pull this stuff out of, and I think I know what the answer is, so don't tell me.
I won't say it.
If somebody is illegally entering your country, it's not a racist thing to stop them. We're one of the very few countries on the planet that would let people just cross our border. I mean, how many other countries can you do? If you go the other way, if you illegally enter Mexico, you got a real serious
if
problem.
you illegally enter Canada, God help you.
Oh, and Canada. Oh, my God, yeah.
Well, half the time if you legally enter Canada, God help you.
Yeah, they're real funny about that. And, of course, if we do it, it's racism, which does bring up the interesting thing that the Supreme Court, there was a judge who ruled against Trump's stance on not letting people from certain countries come into the U.S., right? And the Supreme Court, they didn't stay it. What they said is, we'll hear it, probably in the fall. They said, we'll hear it, but until then, you can go ahead and continue to enforce that. They didn't actually stay the finding, but they did say on that part, go ahead and do it. So now they can stop people from coming here, visitors from Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen. But what they did say also is if you're part of a family unit, that you have to give them a pass. That if they got family here, actually there's a number of things that they listed. Where are they? If you have
it has
family,
to be a close relative, a parent, spouse, fiance, son or daughter, siblings, son-in-law, or daughter-in-law.
Then they got into a flap over grandparents. Did you see that?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that makes sense. I think I agree. That makes sense.
I suppose it's
especially if the adult children are already here, and their parents want to come in. They could be quite old.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the kind of people that you do want to let in.
And a lot of cultures, grandparents live with. They're part of the family. That's
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. They also list if you've been accepted in an American university, if you have a job offer, there's always been, for as long as I can remember, certain things. If you couldn't find somebody in the U.S. to do a certain type of job, if somebody was better, if somebody was better from another country, they could come in. Or a speaking engagement, which that's kind of nebulous. I'm going to speak on the corner in Hollywood and Vine. I'll be there speaking. Yeah, with a cup. Give me a quarter. I don't know.
I have an invitation to be a special speaker about the Quran.
Oh, you'll have a blast. Trust me. Yeah. Did you get that one? You got that, didn't you? Yeah. Okay. We just want to make sure he got it too.
We need the mushroom cloud effect. See, we need that like on the next gen thing.
Yeah. It's sometimes I worry about us. I really do. The press continues to support. I don't even know how to say this, and it makes sense. It's like the press supports Islamic terrorism, because everything Trump says he wants to do to stop it, they're against. They literally are against it. There was a program that Obama put in place called Countering Violent Extremism Policy, and if you, on the surface, if you look at it, you go, well, okay. I mean, they were giving money to local areas to help thwart terrorism, which was fine. Unfortunately, a lot of the money was going to groups that were terrorists. And Trump then, of course, came along, and wasn't Trump personally, but his guy, remember it was Jay Johnson, wasn't it? Wasn't that his name, Jay Johnson? I think it was Jay Johnson. So the incoming guy, John Kelly, said, you know what, I'd like to take a look at those grants, $10 million. He said, I'd kind of take a look at it. And he cut some of them, like the ones who were terrorist organizations. Well, my God, you thought it was the end of the world. They're railing against the guy now. What am I listening to? Are you riding a motorcycle over there? That sounded like a motorcycle.
Does it look like I'm riding a motorcycle?
I don't know. It's hard to say. And he cut $400,000 grant to Life After Hate. That kind of makes me nervous. It was former right-wing extremists who were going to use the money for an online campaign against neo-Nazis. He cut funding to them, and so, people are saying that's inexplicable. It's clear that he supports the far right. No matter what this guy does, he's screwed, No,
they're former right-wing extremists.
They are, yeah, former right-wing extremists. Oh, yeah. We're going to come back after a few messages. You've got some stuff to cover, right? You have a few things.
I do.
And we're going to talk a little bit about giving money to the arts. All that more when we return on Target Radio.
Safer USA, Chicago's most trusted name in firearm training, is offering beginners classes, tactical pistol and rifle, long-range rifle to 600 yards, and the most comprehensive Illinois concealed carry program available. The On Target Radio co-hosts David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz will prepare you to carry a firearm for personal protection, including firearm, holster, and ammunition selection. A comprehensive law review designed to keep you out of trouble and even how to deal with home invasions. Firearm, ammunition, holster, class notebook, and lunch are provided. Safer USA and the Aurora Sportsman's Club invite you to participate in this one-of-a-kind Illinois concealed carry program that also qualifies you for Florida, Utah, and Arizona non-resident permits. Find out what over 6,000 students already know at saferusa.com.
Or call 815-741-3474. That's 815-741-3474. Safer USA. Choosing to own a firearm is your business. Teaching you to own it responsibly is ours.
In need of a ride to O'Hare or Midway Airport? Well, look no further. The Yellow Checker Cab Company is the cab company for you. With the Yellow Checker Cab Company, you will always be greeted by a friendly face and arrive safely and on time for your flight. Start your trip off right by taking advantage of one of their limos, shuttle vans, cabs, or courtesy cars. And airport trips are not all they specialize in. This 24-hour cab service will pick you up anytime, any day, for any occasion. From bachelorette parties to school dances to just a night out with friends. Yellow Checker Cab Company has the best rates in town. So sit back, relax, and leave the driving to the professionals. Once you experience their fast and affordable cab service, you'll be a customer for life. When it comes to cab companies, be sure to choose Yellow Checker Cab because you have the right to expect certain things from your cab company. For further information or to book your trip today, call 815-744-2900. That's 815-744-2900.
You're listening to On Target Radio with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
So is it hot and muggy in Columbus?
Oh, so nasty. It is. It's been storming off and on. I mean, we've been getting your weather right after you're getting it. But yeah, it's been super humid. Luckily, a lot of the convention center hotels are all connected to the actual convention center, so we don't actually have to go outside.
Well, it's been pretty miserable here. So
yeah, it's been miserable here too.
More of the same. Yeah, it definitely is. Anyway, let's check in and see what's happening.
Stand by. Here's Gretchen with your action items for the week.
The following Safer USA classes are at our facility in Waterman, Saturday and Sunday, July 29th and 30th. NRA Rifle Instructor, taught by David. Saturday and Sunday, August 5th and 6th. Illinois Concealed Carry 1. When seconds count, the police are only minutes away. That's why you should get Illinois Concealed Carry. This 16-hour class will be taught by David and Gretchen and meets the training requirements for Illinois Concealed Carry as well as Florida, Arizona, and Utah. Sunday, August 6th. Long Range Rifle, taught by Ed Janka. To sign up for classes, go to saferusa.com and click on Register.
This next thing, I sort of have mixed emotions. I mean, I was real big in theater, and I worked as an actor through the 90s and stuff. And so I'm a big lover of the arts. I always have been. And so I do have...
But you don't like singing and dancing. You told me you don't like singing and dancing.
I can't do either one. I told you I had a voice coach, and she finally just said, no one's ever going to hire you to sing. I mean, she just... When a person
like,
who makes
I'm just taking your money.
When a person who makes a living teaching people to sing says, I really am guilty about taking your money.
I can't teach you to sing.
I think there's a message hidden in there somewhere, okay? And you've seen me dance.
It's not hidden.
And you've seen me dance. I just, it is what it is. What can I say?
Yeah.
But, the federal government... The federal government has always is a big word, but has for a very long time given a lot of money to the arts, and I get that, but they just you got to ask yourself sometimes. You remember Mapplethorpe, right?
I'm sorry, which one?
Mapplethorpe, the guy. I don't even want to say what he did. urinating and
That
guys.
sounds vaguely familiar, but I couldn't
Yeah.
tell you what it was now.
Well, his art was peeing in guys' mouths. That was his art.
Ew.
Yeah, right.
That's not art, that's porn.
Well, and so it's a fine line here. And there have been others, depictions of Christ all that stuff.
Yeah, the one where you have to, they want you to sign the book, but you have to walk on the American flag in order to get to the guest book to sign it. Or the one with the crucifix and a jar of urine. Yeah.
Okay, so freedom of speech, they wanted to say that, that's fine. I don't think we should be supporting
I don't want to pay for it.
Exactly. So it's not, because that's what people say. As soon as you bring the subject up, they go, well, you don't believe in freedom of speech. No, I do. I just don't believe I should pay for your freedom of speech.
Exactly.
And so here's what's happened. We paid this one. You can't make this up, okay? You can't make it up. The federal government...
That's how you know it's good.
Exactly. The federal government gave $90,000 for a performance in which people go out in the desert and talk to a cactus for an hour, and then they go online and tell people what they learned from it. Well, I learned...
the cactus said to them.
Cactuses don't talk.
Well, it's not just any cactus. It's a saguaro.
Well,
okay?
exactly.
It's a very special cactus.
Right. It's a very special cactus. It still doesn't talk. It doesn't hear. It just goes... That's all it does.
Right. So saguaro cactuses, they're huge, and they're kind of like a California redwood. They live for a really long, hundreds of years, is my understanding. So
and it's illegal to destroy one.
Yes, they're protected.
Yeah.
They're very. Are they federally protected or just state protected?
No, I think it's federal.
Okay, and but yeah, I mean, I would imagine that anything that is a couple hundred years old would have some wisdom to offer. But I myself have never heard a cactus speak.
They do have wisdom to offer, and it's very, very obvious. It's don't hug a cactus.
It's don't touch me.
That's right. It's leave me alone, okay? So we paid $90.
That's good. That's the same thing I want to say to my stalker. Don't touch me.
That's right. But nobody's paying him $90,000.
That's okay. It's good. I got the message from the cactus.
Exactly. $90,000 of our tax money, so people could walk into the desert, talk to a cactus for an hour, and then come back and report on social media. Now, the other thing that bugs me, because I am a big supporter of the arts, I do believe it, but the other thing is, look, you take a place like Metropolitan Museum of Art, they got $1.2 million in grant money, okay? $1.2 million in grant money. These places
in
have...
one fiscal year.
And these places like the Met and other similar ones to that, some of them have endowments of $1 billion.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Why do they need... I have nothing against the museum having the money. They're donations. That's fine. And certainly they're fine institutions. I have nothing against them at all. And I just don't understand why, when you have that depth of resource, why are we giving them money?
I don't get it. I agree. Exactly, I 100% agree with you.
It says 71 of the $441 million was given out to 3,163, they're varying types of arts, but whatever type they were, in 2016, okay? Of those, 71 were asset-rich nonprofits, meaning they had assets that exceeded $1 billion. And even so, they got grants of $20.5 million. I'm not begrudging them being successful, but why are we giving money to groups that have $1 billion worth of assets? That doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't seem like they need anything.
The other thing that turns out is kind of interesting is when you look at where $210 million of that 441 went to, District of Columbia, California, Florida, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New York, Pennsylvania, and Texas. Other than maybe Texas and maybe Florida, they're all blue states.
Right.
I don't see anything in here like the Cowboy Museum in Wyoming. You know? It's politics. They give these people, they're buying votes. That's what they're doing. They're buying votes with this money. And it drives me, it just makes me crazy. But the cactus.
So I just want to give props to Open the Books, because that is Adam Andrzejewski's organization, and he's a good friend of mine, good friend of the show. And he does excellent work of exposing this kind of bullcrap.
Yeah. He gets it under FOIA. They have to give it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Boston Museum of Fine Arts.
It's a bigger organization than it used to be, but he runs that thing on a shoestring pretty much.
Oh, yeah. I think he's the only person, isn't he?
No. He has people.
No, I mean that actually it's their job. Isn't everybody there a volunteer?
No, I think he has
I thought
staff.
that's what he said. Yeah. Boston Museum of Fine Arts, $2.5 million. Chicago Adler Planetarium, which I love, it's a great place, got $1.7 million. Art Institute of Chicago, hardly a broke entity, $1.4 million. And Robert Redford Sundance Institute in Park City, the movie thing, $3.3 million. This is what kills me, too. Universities that have over $1 billion endowments, Harvard, Yale, Northwestern, Notre Dame, University of Michigan, got millions of dollars in grant money. And my favorite part of this whole thing, 432 federal employees working for the government foundation earned $41.8 million a year in salaries and bonuses. The average salary was $96,500, with benefits increasing the average cost to $126,000 plus per employee. That's where the money's going. People are getting huge amounts of money to do this stuff.
I've applied for federal jobs in Washington, D.C., and the cost of living is a lot higher out there, so you can just go ahead and divide that by about 2/3, and that would be what the comparison would be in Illinois. But yeah, I mean, for federal employees that are granting money to the arts, I don't really think you need to pay them like these ridiculous salaries.
I really would be behind if somebody has a reasonably mainstream, traditional sort of thing, theater, whatever, poetry, whatever, I don't care, and they're a startup, they're new, they don't have money. Okay, I get that. I don't have a problem. But, you know, if you got $1 billion worth of assets, I don't think so. I don't think we should be giving them money.
Well, and not only that, I don't know, I think there should be some test of this is culturally significant or, you know, helpful for America in some way. You know, I think that it just seems like there should be some test of, does this contribute to the fabric of American life, or is this just crap? I mean,
see, the problem
I don't know.
What you bring up is the argument to not give anybody any money. And it's
Which
a justifiable
is a pretty damn good argument, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, how liberal PBS has become and NPR.
Oh, yeah.
I'm tired of it, and I want to stop funding all of it. It's crap.
Well, and the interesting thing, and there are some good shows on NPR. I used to listen to it years ago. I love Prairie Home Companion, for instance. But the interesting thing is those programs have never been able to support themselves. And I think, even though there's things about it you may like, I think the answer is, if it doesn't pay its own way, adios. You know, really, that's realistic.
I agree. I'd say cut all that, and we don't need to pay for that. You know, PBS does solicit donations. I don't know if NPR has a telethon the way that PBS does. PBS could probably make it on their own. I think that if the government did not fund it, I think private corporations would step up.
Well, I think that's probably true. You're going to be back next week, right? Sitting in your chair.
I'll be back tomorrow.
All right. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to listen tonight, and we'd appreciate if you tell your friends about On Target Radio.
We'd also like to thank our engineer, Eric Allen, who orchestrated this whole thing, and our sponsors, the Will County chapter of the Illinois State Rifle Association, Yellow Checker of Joliet, My Editor Creative Business Services, the Aurora Sportsman's Club, and Safer USA.
And finally, we hope that you listen next week when we'll be covering more red meat issues that affect your life.